Hello again, and welcome to this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat. We've got another fun show for you. I really enjoyed this one because I've got a new toy I want to talk about or brag about. And we're going to subtitle this episode, Old Fat Guys Can Ride Mountain Bikes Too. I recently got a Baku Mule electric mountain bike, and when I was talking to Roy Huntington about it, he said he had an electric bike of a different brand, but he's been riding one for a while. So I said, you know what? We need to talk about it because most folks don't think people our age are going to be out riding mountain bikes, and I found this thing to be exceptionally useful and exceptionally fun. So let's talk to Roy Huntington about why old fat guys can still ride mountain bikes. Well, good afternoon, Roy.
Good afternoon on a rainy day in Joplin.
Well, it's not here yet, so I'm going to go out and play with what we're going to talk about today. And before I get there, let me say, Roy, I've got a new toy, and it is so cool. Yeah,
I know. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about this topic, and I was just, I was going to need a grinectomy to remove the smile from my face because I've got an e-bike now, an off-road e-bike. And you're going to see some more of that. In fact, I believe the newsletter today is going to have a story about it, my first impressions. I have a Baku Mule off-road bicycle. And I was telling Roy about it, kind of humble bragging a little bit. And Roy mentioned he's got an electric bike. And this fits in just exactly with what I told the good folks at Baku, because I think going back and forth, they were kind of like, why does Papaw want a mountain bike? Because, honestly, and I've checked this with other folks, and I have a stereotype of a mountain biker in mind, and it doesn't look like me or Roy. And I've talked to other people, and they kind of go, yeah, that's kind of true. So we, Roy, are breaking all new ground here. Or at least that's what I'm claiming. So.
Thank God somebody has to. It might as well be us,
Exactly. Well, let me talk a little bit about mine. I've just had it about a week now. As I said, it's the Baku Mule. And believe it or not, they're an American company. They're based out of, I believe, Ogden, Utah. And they make this hunting-focused, off-road focused, basically hardcore, get out and do it kind of bike. And there's a couple of those on the market, but they hit me at the right time. And I said, I want to try one of these. So yesterday, Roy, I rode 20 miles. Now, everybody that I've told that's like, come on, I know what you have. I pedaled though. Okay. You still pedal.
Yeah.
But this thing is great. I said it's clunky in a cool kind of way, like a military Hummer. It's not going to win any, you're not going to see it at the Tour de France or anything like that, but for blasting down trails, bringing out your quarter of elk, or as I was scouting a creek I hadn't fished, bashing down the bank yesterday. Man, this thing is great. And the electric, I'll try not to gush. I did another radio interview today, and at one point I said, am I gushing? And he said, yeah, but that's okay. We like your stories. So, okay. I think it's pretty clear at this point, I like an electric bike. Roy, you've got one. You had yours before mine. Why?
Yeah. I actually had an early one, like 7 or 8 years ago, but it just,
really?
Yeah, they didn't have the technology down quite enough, and it wasn't quite powerful enough. And so then I actually got, about 4 years ago, I got what essentially was a Minibike, except it was electric. And I think it was 450 watts. And so I used it to run around the property here, up to the shop and over to get that and to grab the mail and stuff like that. But it was never quite, it just like I wanted more,
Yeah.
And at the time, the early e-bikes, which are electric bikes for people who don't understand that, they were like $7,000 and $8,000, and so that was way beyond my budget. And they had, a 10, 15 mile range and all that. And like anything we know about technology, is just give it a few years, And so then about a year and a half ago, I bought one from Rad Bike, is what they're called.
Yes.
And I paid about $1,500 for it, but it's 750 watts, and it's got fat tires, and it's not like a serious off-road tool like your bike is. Mine is more of a kind of a dirt road, or ride across the grass to get up to the shop and stuff like that. But man, I'll tell you, the 750 watts is all the difference in the world, because it'll carry me up any hill on our property here. And as you are well aware of now, that pedal assist is miraculous. And it's like, and because on mine, you can select how much assist it gives you, and then you can also select what gear you're in when it does it, and it has different effects depending on the gear you're in. But it's so bizarre, and I'm sure you did it too. The first time I turned it on and you go to pedal, it's like, whoa, Jesus reached down and is turning your pedals for you now.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, I have a haunted bicycle. So
that's funny. That's exactly the same experience I had. And I will tell you, I put in my article today that what I discovered, okay, it's a cool toy and it's fun, and it can be useful in the outdoors, but I actually discovered a use that I think is relevant to folks of our certain age. It's a great trainer, because you can pedal, you can assist, and you can dial in how much assist you want. I would say I was probably doing like a 50-50 in like 6th or 7th gear, and I'm cruising along about 16 miles an hour, no problem. And then it's like, okay, that's good. I've proven myself. I've gone for a couple of 100 yards. I'm going to coast. And with a normal bicycle, you coast and come to a stop, right? Not with this. You just keep rolling, and then you get refreshed, and you're 2 or 3 miles down the road and you start pedaling again. So I really think, truly, honestly, joking aside, that this is going to be a great trainer to help build my leg muscles and stamina, and my butt stamina, because after a while the seat begins to get a little uncomfortable. But
I sent you that gel seat picture, remember? Well worth the $25. Well, I think you really nailed the thing that sold me on it, is that, well, my property is a little bit too rugged to just pedal a bike, and I'm old, I just don't want to do it, and so I was looking forward to this, to be able to just sort of help and run around and stuff like that. But boy, on the road, I like it, because Susie and I ride, it's on road, but they're mountain bikes, but I'm still, she's 10 years younger than me. So we'll come to a long hill or something, and she pedals her ass, up the hill. And, and I'm like, halfway, 2/3 up, going, okay, I'm really tired of doing this now. My knees are hurting. And then that little bit, you just like put a little bit of help on, and suddenly it turns your day into a much better day. But gosh, I wouldn't be out there riding that if I didn't have this help,
Exactly. That's what I said in the interview today, that, I wouldn't be riding a bike. I'd be thinking about riding a bike, but I wouldn't be riding a bike.
No.
And this gets me, now I'm excited, because again, pedal till you're, you got the juices flowing, you're sweating a little bit, and okay, now I just want to ride. And you hit the switch and you keep going. And talking about pedal assist, I mean, it's everything you say, but when I took it off road yesterday, I got into some, it was tall grass, and there were some pretty decent hills, about like what you've got on your property. And I first just tried, and this bike rides nice, minus all the electronic stuff, which surprised me, because it's a big, heavy duty motorcycle looking bicycle almost.
Yeah. They're heavy too.
Yeah. But it's pretty nimble. And okay, so I'm cruising through. In years ago, I'd ride my bike through stuff like that. And then I turned the pedal assist on, and I could go anywhere I wanted to. In fact, I could go some places I probably shouldn't have or shouldn't. And it's just amazing. So I just can't say enough about how cool it is, and what it means to a guy of my age, your age, Roy. It gets you back out there. And I will say this rail trail I was riding yesterday, I can't tell you how many critters and birds I snuck up on, because I'm on a bicycle. I'm not on a four-wheeler. I'm not in a vehicle. I'm zipping along in this bicycle. And like I said, doing 20 miles in one day. And it was probably more than that. I quit. I turned off my GPS, because I rode on the gravel road. I mean, again, back as a kid, I rode on gravel roads, and that was just awful. And with this thing, you just got to be careful not to get going too fast, because you'll wipe out on gravel, but it's entirely doable. So
And I think what people need to understand, because it took me some time, is that you don't have to spend $5,000. In other words, if you want a bit of a commuter bike, just something to get you back on the road, like you say, 600, 5, 6, 7, $800,000 will get you into something that you can ride to the store in, and all that kind of stuff. Now you're not going to be an off-road terror, uh, and that's what I looked at. For mine, it was about $1,500, and I put a front basket on it. It came with a light, and I put a bigger light on it because I ride in the dark around here on my place. And then I has a rack on the back, so I put an old milk crate, the old plastic milk crates.
Yeah.
I zip tied that on the back, and so I keep some tools back there, and a flashlight, and a pair of work gloves, and a little machete and stuff. And so I basically use mine to run around here and do chores and things like that. So it feels good to be back outside, because every once in a while I'll think, oh, I'll get in the Jeep and drive up to the shop, but then instead I'll hop on the bike.
Yes.
And then I find myself like, oh, this feels good. I'll ride down to the pond, and then you're down at the pond and you think, well, I'll go up the East Trail because I haven't been up there in a while, and and it just gets your blood going. And so I want to say it while it's in my mind. If you have not even thought about it, you need to think about it, and seriously, because I promise you will love it. And if you buy one for yourself, then you are going to buy one for your wife. Because the first time they do it and they go, well, this is not what this isn't hard.
Yeah.
I can go to the store now and I can pedal if I want to, or not pedal if I want to. I know my bike will go just about exactly 20 miles if you just use electricity.
Yeah.
And if you assist pedal it, from what I've seen, I haven't done it, but from what I've seen on the reviewers, they seem to be able to get about 40 to 45 miles, depending on how much you pedal with it. So
yeah. Well, the Baku Mule, and they've got several. It's more on the high end. It's around $5,000 MSRP, but you're getting capability. Not to brag, Roy, but I've got 1,000 watts. So
that's a significantly upgrade from 750. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got a ginormous battery. I put in the story that it's big enough you could bludgeon a caribou to death with it. I haven't weighed it yet, but it's the size of a loaf of French bread.
Yep.
And it takes about 8 hours. But like I said yesterday, I rode all that 20 miles for sure on GPS. Plus I shut it off and did the gravel roads and went off road. And when I got back to my truck, about 3 and some hours later, I think the battery meter was about 48%. So, and I figure I pedaled assisted maybe 20-25% of the time. So if you were an avid biker and you pedal assisted most of the time, I think you could ride this thing darn near all day, and it would keep going. So
I agree. Well, what's cool about it is like I charged mine before winter. It basically sat virtually all winter. I took it out once or twice, and then when I just started firing it up again the other day, it was still 100% charged. That's the wonder of lithium batteries nowadays.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is it does, and I'm sure yours is the same way. You can use a key and disconnect the battery if you want to. You can lock the bike down so nobody can ride it. And then I like it though, because even if you are riding it somewhere and the battery does go dead for whatever reason, you at least can get home.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not fun. I wouldn't want to do it all day, every day. But you put it in the lowest gear and then just take your time. And mine has an interesting feature, which at first I thought, well, that's silly. Why would I want this? But it has a feature you can push a button, and it has an assist for if you're pushing the bike up a hill, for instance.
Yes.
And it's so bizarre because you walk next to your bike and your bike kind of helps to pull you up the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never would have thought of that. So, but yeah, you need to look into these, everybody, if you're not thinking about this. You really do.
Well, I honestly, I think the company was a little surprised. Because again, we don't kind of fit into maybe the target demographic, but and when I talk to my friends, because I did the first thing that you always do when you're 12 years old. I rode around the neighborhood and showed off all my friends, boys and their toys.
Right.
And, the first thing everybody said was, oh, that's cool. The second thing was, can I take it for a ride? Third is, what do you really need it for? And that's what I was really hoping to kind of, hammer home here is the idea of A, it's a bike, but B, it's so versatile. You can ride a bike for pleasure. You can cruise for pleasure. You can kind of mix the two together. And you were talking about, riding up to the shop and all that, because that's a perfect example. Your shop's really a good distance away to walk, but it's not that far for a vehicle. So it almost seems like by the time you get in, fire it up and do all that, you're there. A bike would be perfect. And in our case, the gym I go to is just basically right across the state highway. As the crow flies, you're probably talking 300-400 yards, but walking or riding a bike or driving, it's a little further than that. But I've always felt weird going to the gym to get on a treadmill, driving my vehicle from my house. So now hop on the bike. Yesterday picked up Subway sandwiches on the bike. And I will admit to seeing the irony of riding my bike, my electric bike, to the dairy barn thing to get ice cream and bringing it home.
Yeah, but you know what, though? At least you're in the arena. And
exactly.
I think, because like people say, because they tell me, they say, oh, you just like gadgets. You like all that kind of stuff. But
yes.
You know what? Yeah, I do. Except who's the one who's out on the bicycle? Then we are, right? Because the people who make fun of us, half the people you showed your bike to had bicycles with flat tires gathering dust in the garage.
Exactly.
Because we all do. Yeah. So, but from what I understand, when I was doing my research, there's that big retirement village in Florida that like the villages. Well, I guess that this like single-handedly is what they use for transportation. Between electric kind of cruising city, bikes,
golf carts.
Yeah. I mean, that's what moves the villages.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
I know. I sent you a link to one from Rad Bike.
Yes.
And this other company probably has them too, but it's a real classic sort of city commuter, go to the store kind of bike. And they're great because you can put a front basket on them. And then it's a single seat. You can get a double seat, but a single seat. And then they've got a big luggage rack on the back.
Yeah.
And then, for instance, they offer a container back there that you even has like a zippered bag that can slip inside of it. And so, I mean, you could probably put 3 or 4 bags of groceries in this thing. And so, why would you not?
Baku actually makes a trailer, and it's hell all stout.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could tow all your camping gear, again, your elk quarter, probably a white-tailed deer you could stuff in there and bring it out. And for hunting, I plan to use mine for fishing. I haven't done it yet, but I like to wade. I like to go to creeks and I wade upstream and catch smallmouth bass. That's just something I always like doing. The downside is once you've made it to the next road, you're a mile or two away from your vehicle. So you can either fish back downstream through what you've already fished and you're not going to do as good, or you can road walk, or something I never do, but it's possible you can have, say, a spouse, girlfriend, or whatever, pick you up and drive you back, which that never works. What I'm thinking I can do is I can drop off the bike, chain it to a tree, go down to my put-in, go fishing, walk up, and then when I get there, I hop on the bike. I've got a rod rack mounted on that back rack, and away I go. And if I'm tired, I don't even have to pedal at all. I can just hit the button. So I think that's going to work out pretty good.
It's really true. I have a friend here who he bought 2 of the sort of early bikes, and I remember they were a lot of money. They were like $7,000-8,000, and he bought 2. Yeah, one for he and one for his kid. But it'll go 40 miles on electricity alone.
Yeah,
and he said when you put it in like first or second gear to pedal with it, it was like you were talking. It's like a low range 4-wheel drive.
Yeah,
it's got these big fat, knobby tires. Well, he's a crazy white-tailed deer hunter. He goes to Kansas all the time, and not these little 120-pound Missouri whitetail. These are these 250-pound, bruisers.
Yeah,
well, he shows me pictures all the time where he parks his truck and then they can go in places where nobody wants to have to try to walk.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and little teeny tiny trails and stuff like that, and across cornfields. And then now you end up with a 250-pound deer down. You know, he just loads it on his little trailer. You know,
Wow,
and
that's
off
pretty
he
cool.
goes. Yeah, and he said initially he would just drag them. He made a drag, and then this bike would drag that. It was that powerful. So
yeah, I'm sure mine would too. So
yeah, it just really opens the doors. But I think so. The big difference for me is that there's the like really serious bikes like the one you have. It really is a do everything. It's like a Hummer, like you say.
yeah,
Or then mine is more of a sort of mid range. You know, like I think they advertise it. They say, can it go off road? Absolutely. But it's not made to go tearing around off road. But you can drive on the dirt roads and get places and stuff like that. And it's a great little commuter. Zip into town, get your thing, come on back. And it's nice. You feel good. You actually hear the birds singing, and
yes.
and the dogs can chase you, so you're closer to nature.
I'll tell you one thing that I noticed though, and this was interesting. Yesterday on the trail, and I've had this around town. I've not gotten any negativity about it other than a friend of mine's wife goes, "Don't you feel like you're cheating?" And I said, yes, absolutely. And I'm good with that. I've paid my dues at my age. A little cheating doesn't kill anything. And like you said, it gets us out there. But anyway, on the trail yesterday, all the walkers were friendly, but a couple of bikers I passed, one guy going, but he just was straight up unfriendly to the point I was kind of like to his back, and like you said, our t-shirt sucks to be you.
Yeah.
And that really surprised me. And I guess, it is cheating. Well, okay. But at least I was by far the oldest guy out there I saw. So that should count for something.
Because I officially don't give a shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, have a nice day, man. And then he's going to go ride his $5,000 fancy ass carbon fiber, trail bike to his $75,000 diesel truck. And and he's making fun of you for riding an electric bicycle, that you're pedaling anyway, So, but I think then the other thing though is, and we talked a little bit about it. I mean, I was in Walmart the other day and they had electric bikes, street bikes.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and so for $350 to say $600 or $700,
wow,
you absolutely could get something that you could run to the corner store in and get a pair of them and put a kiddie seat on the back, and you and your new wife could get out and cruise the neighborhood a little bit and stuff. So like I think you summed it up though, was when you said something about it like, well, it gets you out. It gets you out.
Well, and I was sitting there thinking of use cases when we're having these discussions, and one just struck me. I like long distance shooting. Going out and setting targets, fixing targets, painting targets, or putting up new paper at 1,000 is awful. Next time I do that, I'll go do it, and away I would go. So or like the guys at Range Day at the SHOT Show. Any of these big shooting facilities where maybe range masters have to move between, something like this would be just perfect. And I've seen guys on bikes do that, but this is a bike plus.
Well, and if you go on something like Amazon, eBay even has it, and you type in like electric mini bike, you'll find that there are electric mini bikes, but they're biggie size. They're more for adults.
Oh, really?
And if you don't really want to bicycle it, but these mini bikes were terrific for running around your property or like range duties, and stuff like that. Because I had a mini bike here that was an off-road mini bike, and I bought it at Tractor Supply, and it was like a 6 or 7 horsepower motor, and it was a beast. It'd take me up any hill around here and everything. Big fat tires on it. But the problem is that, well, you have to start it. And I know it makes you sound like a wuss, but it's like you go out, turn the gas on, put the choke on, and it's like a lawnmower, right? So you're going to pull the starter thing. I'm sure they have electric ones. And if it's recalcitrant, it doesn't want to start, then it's like, so that's why I got the electric mini bike. And it was so nice as you go out and you flip the switch on.
And away you go.
and away you go. It was really nice. So,
Well, cool. Well, again, though, when we're talking bikes, I just love the idea that I can go out and work as hard as I want to, and then I can still get home. And so, I'm tired today because not only I rode 20 miles, I came home and mowed my yard, and it needed some attention. So I'm feeling pretty shagged out today. But I wouldn't even have made the 20 miles, let alone mowed my yard, if I had just ridden my bike. So it's, this kind I'm talking about, it's expensive. But if you're the kind of person that, you're an avid hunter and, you're going to get out there, you're going to beat this thing to death, I think it's going to stand up just fine. And you need those capabilities. I can see it owning it over, say, a four-wheeler, because you're talking kind of roughly the same price, but then you can also use this one just cruising around the neighborhood going to get ice cream.
It's really true. And I think you wouldn't have been out there on the bicycle unless you had this.
Yep.
Exactly. Because I haven't ridden our bikes in about a year. I had some back problems and stuff like that. But the electric bike got me on the road. Because, it's like if your back starts to act up, okay, a little more electric power comes to help right now. So
exactly.
So yeah, I get you. So I really advocated, and I know, we were just talking before the show started about the people who whine about what they call expensive guns. They say, well, that gun's $1,500 and I can get one for $400, and yeah, I know, but it's a piece of crap and you don't want to buy that. But I think with technology being what it is today, is that don't let $800 or $1,000 or $1,200 scare you away, because I promise you will just use it and you get a grin on your face and people see it, and your wife or girlfriend's going to want one. And then now you're out doing things together. So especially if you live in suburbia.
Yep. That's what Shirley said. She goes, every time you come back, you got this big grin on your face. And I said, well, then I'll quit it. And she goes, no, it's wonderful, because it's been kind of stressful of late. And that's been my my little temporary Prozac, is I go out and just ride around and just feel better for it. So,
boy, howdy, and then leave us caution. And that is that if you are going to do this, especially if you're older, especially if you're on blood thinners or things like that, you have to wear a helmet. So get yourself a decent bicycle helmet. And I don't like the sort of racer funny little flat ones. I have one that's a little more substantial to protect you. And get some gloves, because when you fall down, you fall down on your hands. And then don't wear your flip-flops. So
well, that you beat me to it. That's exactly what I did. I got a kind of a mid-level helmet, because I didn't realize now you can spend $400 or $500 on a biking helmet, but you can also spend $20. I didn't get that one. I actually talked to a friend of mine who works at a bike shop and knows about this stuff, and it's kind of a mid-range. It was $50-$60, and like you said, I wear my gloves, stout shoes, and also iPro, because I'm out riding and at 20 miles an hour, you're hitting bugs too. So some iPro is not a bad thing. But that was one of my concerns, and it still is a concern, that I try to ride conservatively, because I didn't used to. And when you fall off and crash and burn, it sucks and you hurt for a while. But at our age, you hurt a lot longer. Plus, I've got the bionic knee, and I don't even want to think about what would happen if I went off the bike and landed on that knee. It would ruin $250,000 worth of fine surgery.
No, that would be bad. I will caution, you may have noticed this too, is that you have to ease into using it, because it has its own mind, kind of. And it'll surprise you, and mine, you tend to set a little forward on it, almost like a scooter. And so they handle differently. Mine handles differently from a regular bicycle. And so you just have to, ease into it, get your sea legs under you, but it is awfully easy. Mine will go 20 miles an hour just without even thinking about it.
Yep.
And that's fast if you fall down.
Yes. Well, I had a funny story too, is when I was assembling the bike, and we have an all glass sunroom on the back of our house. Beautiful. So
I
I'm
know
back
where
there.
this is going to go. Yep.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
I'm messing with the bike and leaned over and rested on something, and it tried to go right through the side of the sunroom because you don't think about it. And then yesterday, since I'm
they're torquey. They're really torquey.
Yeah. It'll, as you said, it'll surprise you.
Oh.
And then yesterday, I about got flipped off the bike because I had a GoPro mounted and I wanted to get some footage. We're going to put together a video. And I did it not once, but twice, where I kind of lean over and whoa. So I'm kind of straddling the bike, trying to catch up. And, you don't think of, okay, ease off the throttle there. You just hit the button and it looked like a soup sandwich. And I'm sure if the mountain bikers saw me, they were rolling laughing. So I hope they fell off their bikes, but I did not. So.
I have actually fallen off mine twice, here on the property. Once where the dogs cut me off and stopped in front of me, and I did like a, Artie Johnson crash, And the other one, though, was where it just got away from me. It was slow speed, but I was turning it, and you're not used to that pull. You're used to the bicycle push. And so I got out of balance and down I went. So you have to keep your wits about you for sure. The other thing to think about too, and a lot of the commuter bikes, and mine's like this, is the frame is a step through frame.
Right.
And so like a girl's bike, but I also like to call it's also a good old guy's bike. Because you can step through it and onto it from either side. It's easy to manipulate the kickstand. If you find yourself like, oh no, what's happening? It's easy to put your feet down. So, so that's something to think about.
Well, I learned yesterday too, because I hadn't thought about this, because I was doing kind of, laps in front of the camera, driving away, coming back. I did 4 or 5 takes. First couple of times I've turned the bike, but I never did like a hard turn, like, within the space of the trail and all that. I learned a lesson. You can power on in the turns, but you better be ready for it, because the bike wants to keep going straight and you want it to do this. So you gotta, if you use power at all, which I don't really suggest, you got to feather it a little bit. Like you said, just don't let it get ahead of you, because it will. They are powerful machines. Well,
and mine weighs, I think, 60 pounds, and an average bicycle might weigh, 15 pounds would be probably an average bicycle.
Yeah.
My lightweight street bicycle that I used to have, I think, weighed like 12 pounds or something like that. I don't remember. And so you're used to these lighter weight things you can kind of throw around a little bit if you need to and stuff like that. But the heavy ones, you go to do a slow speed turn and you realize, oh, this weighs 60 pounds. you know? Yeah, I pay attention.
Well, it's funny, when we were, like I said, I did some racing. It was amateur stuff, but we would carry our bicycle on our shoulder. You put your arm through the frame and just pick it up. You would lose a shoulder trying to do that with the bike I've got. I've not weighed it yet. I'll probably have to take it to the grain elevator to do that. And it's tough getting it up in the back of the truck. But
I'm surprised you could lift it by yourself, because mine is kind of all you could do. Now, also mine, I bought it specifically. It'll fold. It's made to like stuff into a trailer or something.
That's
like that.
Cool.
And as a matter of fact, one guy has his in a big, like huge Tupperware bin thing, like you buy
really?
at Home Depot, right?
Ooh, I like that idea.
It folds and it sits right in it. And so now you have 2 handles, and you just put it in the back of your truck or something, and it opens seamlessly, and the handlebars fold, and so it's a pretty cool thing. It actually works really well. So, well,
I've been seeing folks that like live aboard boats. I've seen them do that
for that.
It's
for that.
That would be fantastic, because one of my unclaimed dreams in life has been, I want to do a long distance boat trip. There's something called the Great Loop, where you basically go all around, the eastern U.S. and all that. And that was one of the things, is getting refueled and there's times when I've read many accounts of doing this where they get their wheeled gas can and walk 5 miles up into town and then 5 miles back with a grocery sack and wheeling that thing. Man, electric bike would just make that so good. And you could recharge it, with a solar charger too. So,
well, and because there's a lot, even camping, once you park your motorhome, well, if you have bicycles, so that's good, but maybe you're in a mountainous area and the nearest town is 3 miles away.
Oh, that'd be easy.
Yeah. Well, with electric bike, it's like, well, that's easy,
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
if you have an e-bike and you're anything within, say, 10 miles around you is an easy day trip,
Yep.
And so you buzz out and see the whatever it is you're going to see, go out to dinner, do whatever you want to do, come back home. You're not sweaty and miserable and disgusting.
Yep.
You're not pooped out. And no, it's really cool. And I suppose we've been gushing a bit. Yeah.
Well, like I said, that radio interview today, I said, am I gushing? It's good. You're selling me on it, he said. So that's pretty funny.
That's the whole idea. All right.
To wrap this thing up in a nice, neat bow, electric bikes, even at our youngish age, really are still a thing. And whether you want to get a high-end one like the Baku Mule, or you want to go a little less extensive, you really need to look at them. They're a thing, and if you're even moderately healthy at our age, getting out is not a bad thing. And I think the takeaway for me is they're versatile. You can do so much from just taking a bike ride to running errands to, in the case of mine, bash through the mountains with a quarter of elk on. They can do it all. So pretty cool toy, pretty cool tool.
Yep. So if you have questions, ask Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. All right, Roy. Well, next time I get out there, which hopefully it will be pretty soon since we had to cancel last month, I'm bringing my bike and we're gonna bike. I think if Susie gets on mine, she'll be like, "You're not getting this back."
She looks at mine and it's like she goes, "Oh, that's cute." Right? Yeah. But if yours breathes fire and stuff that, I think that would change everything with her. So,
well, I've not done a speed run on it. They say it'll get pushed 30 miles an hour. And
I believe it.
I've ridden in motorcycles and, obviously I've been a lot faster, but on that bike on a trail, I think top end I've gotten is about 22. And cause I'm thinking again, I got protective gear on and all that, but if I hit something and fall off, it'd be a long, ugly day. So even though it's May in Indianapolis now, I haven't done a speed run yet, but I'll get out on a clean stretch of road with no cars and try that. So anyway, well, Roy, thank you very much for talking. This has been fun. And as we always say, whenever you're on, we'll do it again sometime soon. So thank you.
Let's do it again. All right, buddy.
Well, I had a great time talking to Roy Huntington about our various e-bike adventures, and hopefully we inspired you to at least look into the possibility of owning your own electric bike. Well, before we go, I would like to remind you that if you like what we do around here, slide on over to gunsmagazine.com or americanhandgunner.com, where you can sign up for our daily electronic newsletters. You can get the latest and greatest stuff from Guns and Handgunner delivered directly to your inbox, including the Guns Magazine podcast and Gun Cranks. That's gunsmagazine.com and americanhandgunner.com. Well, that's it for another episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. On behalf of everybody that works here at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, reminding you yet again, now get out there and get shooting on an e-bike.